Guys, today I will be sharing how to make Choco Butternut Loaf. And this is the end product that you'll see once you follow the recipe. The cake or the chocolate cake that I use for this recipe is a dense cake. So it really complements with the toppings that we made. So I hope you watch and try this recipe. I can guarantee that this is really good. So for the ingredients, we need 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of Dutch processed cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of coffee, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, that's hot boiling water, 1 1/3 cup of flour, 110 grams of dark baking chocolate, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2/3 cup of sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, and 1 cup of butter. So to begin, we're going to combine the room temperature butter, the brown sugar, and the white sugar. As much as possible, we're going to mix this, not too much because we don't want to incorporate a lot of air because we want the cake to be dense. So once it's mixed, add the eggs. So I'm just mixing this until it is just combined. So don't incorporate a lot of air again. So to this, we're going to add the chocolate that I melted in the microwave. Mix. So as you can see here that the batter is quite thick. So mix this and then we will set this aside. We're going to combine the plain flour, salt, baking soda, and the 2 tablespoons of Dutch processed cocoa powder. Give this a mix. We will sift this as we add this to the brown sugar butter mixture. Now, this is the hot boiling water, which is 1 cup. And then I added the 2 teaspoons of coffee. Now, we're going to alternate the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, starting with the flour mixture. So, we will start with the flour and we will end up with the flour. So, I added the flour, which I sifted. It's quite hard to mix. Now add the hot coffee mixture. At this point, I will switch to a whisk so it's easier to mix. Once it is combined, we're going to sift in again the flour mixture. Add the rest of the hot coffee. Finally, sift in the remaining flour mixture. By the way, your oven should be preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. Before you begin as well, line your loaf tin with parchment paper. It is important to line the loaf tin with parchment paper because I did this before and I didn't line it with parchment paper. I just used oil and it sticks to the loaf pan. So line your loaf pan with parchment paper. And then add all the butter into the loaf pan. And then we're going to bake this in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 55 minutes to an hour, or until when you insert the skewer in the middle and the skewer comes out clean. Now we're going to make the ganache. I have 200 grams of dark baking chocolate in here and 100 ml of cream. You can use any cream for this. And then we're just going to melt the chocolate into the microwave in about a minute. If you don't have a microwave, you can do this in a stove as well. So this is now ready. All the chocolate is melted. We will set this aside. Now we're moving on to the butter. This is half a cup of butter. I'm going to make a burnt butter. So to do this, we're going to melt the butter until the milk solids from the butter separates. You're waiting for this to turn brown. The heat is medium heat. Make sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl so the milk solids will not totally burn. So the butter has turned brown. It is now ready. Transfer this immediately into a heat-proof bowl so we don't totally burn the butter, although it's called burnt butter. This adds the nuttiness and the aroma for the butter. So now we're going to make the topping. Half a cup of the butter that we made, 1 cup of icing sugar. This is 2 cups of desiccated coconut and a few drops of orange food coloring. You don't need to have a food processor. If you have it, use it. If you don't have it, that's fine. So I'm combining the desiccated coconut and the icing sugar. This step is not really necessary. You don't have to use food processor. I don't know why I use it. So I'm just pulsing this. To this, I will gradually add the burnt butter. With the butter, slowly add this until you reach the desired texture of the topping. For me personally, I added way too much, but that's easy to correct because the butter, when it's cold, sets and dries. Now that I've added the butter, I didn't add all the butter anyway. So you have to gauge how much you needed. Now I'm adding the orange food coloring. At this point, I'm going to transfer this into a rectangular baking dish. And then I'll just use my finger to mix the color thoroughly. If you find that it's too wet, put this in the fridge to help the butter set up. Now we're ready to assemble and finish the cake. So this is what the cake looks like after baking. It has cooled down completely. That's really important. Now we're adding the ganache on top first. You can do this process in whichever way that is easier for you. I wash my hands. Alright, my hands are clean. So here I'm adding the toppings on the top first. Now I'm going to put the ganache on the sides of the cake. On the right first. Then transfer this into the topping. If you miss a spot, don't worry about it. You can go back to do that part. Now I'm doing the top side. Again, you can do a process which is easier than what I'm doing here. Now I will turn this upside down and do the rest. Ganache and then the topping. Sorry about the mess. This is quite messy to make. If you miss a spot, this is the best time to go around and cover the whole entire cake. And this is the finished product. And just to show you what it looks like inside. Again, this cake is not light and fluffy. This is a dense cake to simulate the Choco Butternut from Dunkin' Donuts. But I can guarantee you that this is really good. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you do like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you again next week. Bye. Now I'm showing you the second cut. Bye for now.